We want competition and the players to feel like they need to prove something each day. We've gotten good play with that at the quarterback position. All the guys have had their moments where they've gotten reps. But once you start playing guys and giving them reps, they kind of tell you who should get a little bit more, and that's kind of where we are right now. Of course, we don't have a starter or haven't named a starter, any of that. We just like the progress of, A.J. Bush coming in, first time running offense. So that's been neat to watch him. You notice him, you hear him, which is a good thing. Of course, Cam Thomas has been, ran offense in the spring. He's done some good things. And then it's about, we have 3 freshman quarterbacks, letting them compete to get that rotation down. So we'll continue to work through that. Tomorrow night we'll change the things a little bit in the stadium. But then running backs, we have running backs that play. Mike Epstein is healthy. Reggie Corbin, of course, is each day he'll do something to show you how he can make people miss. Rayvon Bonner, Corey Norwood, kind of like some things that they're doing. For the most part, if you look at minor injuries that you have, offensive line has been intact. Now you see that Kendra Green, of course, is playing the guard position for Nick Algretti, Alec Belchewski, Darren Lowe, Doug Kramer. So it's kind of good to keep offensive line playing together. So offensively, like where we're at a little bit. Receiver-wise, working a lot of different personnel groupings, which is good. We could easily be a 4 wide receiver offense, 3 wide receiver offense, 2 running backs, 3 receivers. We have a lot of different combinations to go with, which helps quite a bit. Defensively, our numbers are down a little bit. And we're kind of banged up a little bit right now too. But our front, of course, they're coming back for the second year. They've done some good things. It's good to get Jake Hansen back. Back at home, Jake's a good football player. Secondary-wise, playing a lot of young players back there too. So it's kind of where we are. Probably be better for me to just answer your questions. Floor is open.
How would you describe how those guys, the quarterbacks, have embraced that idea of open competition?
They've embraced it well. It's a close group. You can see when one player makes a good play, the others, of course, out there congratulate him. And, just the quarterback room has to be a tight room. They spend a lot of time together. All positions do, but quarterback's a little bit more. They realize we don't have to tell them what's at stake. They all realize that. And they know when they get their opportunity, you need to make plays. For our offense to have success, for our team to have success, it's about protecting the football, making good decisions, protecting the football. With our offensive attack that we run, of course, it's a bad thing to ever see the ball on the ground. But our guys have embraced that role, and when we need to pass the football, been pleased, for the most part, how we've done that.
Lovie, you guys added a lot of DBs, and you seem to have a type that you want. What do you think you've added there, and what did you think you needed to add?
We did add a lot. We definitely felt like, the numbers we need to get our numbers up. The type, you want the guys as tall as possible, long, good hips, speed, ball skill. Yesterday, thought the DBs took a step up. Today, offense definitely stepped it up. But those young players, Dylan White went down with a knee injury yesterday. The rest of the guys thought to run hard. Quan Martin, Sidney Brown, Delano Ware. All those young guys have had their moments and will get an opportunity to play.
Lovie, it's hard to get 5 quarterbacks ready. At what point do you start paring that down? Do you think it'll be more than 1 quarterback system?
Eventually, we want to have a quarterback. As far as when, I think the players tell you that. We haven't any practice in the stadium yet. Less than a week or so into. We're not ready, of course, to make any of those type of decisions, but eventually we'll get that.
those 3 freshman quarterbacks, have they shown you what you thought you would get when you recruited them?
Yes. You know, freshman quarterback going to make freshman mistakes. They've done that. I think the guys have picked up the offense fairly well. All 3 of them. They can all throw. They're all mobile. So there's a type that we wanted, athletic type we wanted. Feel like we've gotten that. The ones that have been in practice, you've seen the guys that maybe have completed a few more throws. You continue to play well, you get more reps.
Logistically, how do you, when there's such a big group competing at one position, how do you logistically, I guess, go through that? I mean, do you day by day rank them? Do you have like a point system? How do you look at leadership? Just get them all enough reps? How do you kind of handle all of that when it's such a big group?
Good question, and we try to do this at all positions, but quarterback position, we grade every play they have. Decision making, completion, incompletion, turnover. So you try to have concrete things to show them. Completion percentage, all of that daily. And really every drill, they get an evaluation. You like to be that way, you know, with all positions, but quarterbacks into stats a little bit more. Offensive skill guys into that a little bit more. And I think that helps you make a decision. A lot of times you think, you know, me as a head football coach, don't see every play, turn around and see a guy that makes a good play. Say, hey, heck with practice. Well, let's go and look at total body of work. And that's what we're doing. So we do that daily, and as a cumulative grade that you'll also get a play.
Regarding the switch of Kendrick Green from defensive line to offensive line, how tough of a transition was that for him, and how do you think he's progressing at his new position?
If you're a defensive lineman, a lot of times defensive linemen don't necessarily want to play on the offensive line. And Kendrick Green, we thought as we recruited him, could do both. You look at what you do is you look at your roster and see where you think a player, you know, helps the team the most. That was the case with Kendrick. Initially, he was okay with it, but he's embraced the role now. He's one of the guys. I thought he played well today, and we've seen steady progress with him. So you start drawing him up. He's athletic. He's tough. Everything you really kind of looking for, we feel like he has. Now he needs to get experience. And we're giving him a lot of reps, of course, in practice.
When you say he was okay with it, does it mean it was a little begrudgingly?
No, he was okay with it. My bad word. He was pumped up when we talked to him.
That's quite a different way of describing it.
But really, when you, I mean, you know, you're a defensive lineman, and there's a little shock effect right away. So it was no more than that. That was a long time ago. He's been, you know, as he came into camp, he's, of course, bought in completely.
Well,
yes, sir?
What's your goal at the end of camp with the defensive line in terms of rotations? It seems like you're trying out a lot of combinations right now. Do you want to establish first rotation, second rotation, or could it be a lot freer on the defensive side?
You can answer the question. As a general rule, you have to have 4 starters. We'll, you know, just like we talked about, evaluate quarterbacks, we do that. In our individual drills, one-on-one, O-line, D-line, and just watching them through drills. If you notice our practices, most of it has been team-type situations where you can get a great evaluation of it. What we're going to do, we're going to eventually establish 4 starters, but we're going to play, we would like to play 8 defensive linemen at a minimum. Nowadays, college offenses are running a lot of plays, carry up. It's taxing. So, I mean, that's our goal. It's more about finding out who we think we can win with, and they'll all get enough plays to prove exactly who they are.
Lovie, speaking of your defensive line, I don't know if Tymier Oliver's the #1 guy people think of when they think of your team, but what does he mean to your defense and your team?
Well, you know, there are some guys, first off, he was voted captain last year. So, well, that's his role off the field. And the guys that spend a little bit of time with Tymier, he's not going to talk your head off, you know, but those kind of guys don't really go that far to me anyway. It's about a guy that shows up every day and does it the right way. Total effort, each play. That's who he is. So on what position, he'll be playing somewhere for us. And, you know, we send the first group out. Tymier Oliver will be in that first group. And we know he's not going to surprise you in a bad way. We know what we're going to get from him every snap. and they're still young linemen coming into the mix, they're seeing exactly how you're supposed to do it.
What's that mean for a young team and a young group to have a steady?
Well, you're right, we're young, but you know we have a few guys that are older. He's one of the oldest guys in the group, as you mentioned. So you need that. Young players don't really know. To have a great example, hey, follow him. When you're in doubt, don't quite know, look at Tymir, follow him along, and if you're doing what he's doing, you're going to be okay. They picked up on that.
Justice Williams, another guy that switched sides of the ball. What was kind of the thought process between switching him, and how do you feel like his transition is going so far here in camp?
You know, for us, as we came in, there were guys at certain positions. We went through a year, we kind of saw what they could do a little bit. And I think if you just stay on the football team, we see them show different skills throughout. What we saw from Justice on the defensive side is, you know, one day we needed someone to help out running routes against the one defense, and he made play after play. Then you go back to his background. I mean, he's a receiver in high school, so it just made sense. He really came to me instead of me going to him. And of course, yesterday, finish up practice, great catch. He has unbelievable ability. One of the strongest guys on our team. Great student. So you want to find a role for players like that, and he's finding a role for himself.
Coach, is there early prognosis on your ball today?
Went down with a knee injury. You know, whenever you stop practice and they walk off the field gingerly, it's not a good thing. But we'll see.
Coach, I saw a stat yesterday that 76% of your roster are underclassmen. I think it's the most in D1 football. What's some challenges there?
76%. You know, if you don't know that, you just keep going on with your day.
But what's some challenges there? Is that something that you envisioned? Did you envision overturning the roster and having a young team like that?
We envisioned coming in, bringing in good recruiting classes. When you change over, certain players leave your program. That's how it happens always. Exactly what percentage? I mean, eventually the percentage will be 100% of the guys that we recruited, no more than that. So didn't quite realize, you know, those were the numbers. I just know that last year we were really young. This year we're a lot older. Those players don't really look at themselves. They look at themselves, been around here a lot longer. We're not pleased with how we played, so flipping the roster a little bit should get better results. So that's a good thing.
Coach Michael Marquez was a guy who gave you a lot on the special teams last year. But what have you seen from him this year at safety? He seems like he has a whole different dynamic to that group.
When you're a young player coming in, you want reps. Hey, coach, give me a chance to prove what I can do. And normally, if you talk about defensive players, it's on the special team. And offensive guys sometimes too. Michael Marquez, you know, against Purdue last year. I mean, he's gunner. Each week he was just there. He's, you know, if you're a physical player, that comes out fairly quick too. So once we give you a couple reps and you do well, you get more, and that's the case with him. And that, you know, it's kind of natural position, of course, for him to be a safety. Tough guy, smart, does everything you ask. That's why he's getting ready.
What have you seen from the freshman defensive linemen? How did they look to this point?
Like freshmen, you know, I mean, it's so early on.
Right.
And, you know, with a freshman, when you first get here, there's a lot of things going on. But just figuring out how these guys haven't worked like this, you know. It's a full day. But just learning what to do for you to have a chance to prove exactly who you are, that's what we're going through a little bit. Calvin Avery is a good football player. He's got to get his weight down. We're working on that. We see progress or flashes. And that's what you want to see early on with young players, flashes. And we'll try to get them to play a little bit more consistent throughout. So again, like what they're doing right now. Zeke Holmes, you know, same thing. Let's keep getting them reps.
Which of the freshmen do you think is most ready or surpasses your expectations for readiness?
I try not to talk about that at weekend of camp. You know, personnel-wise, we don't have a lot of personnel meetings the first week of, you know, form an opinion after a few plays. The first big personnel meeting we'll have will be Sunday, where the guys have had an opportunity to play a little bit more. I just know a lot of the guys. It'd be easy for me to say, "Oh, you're disappointed." I'm not disappointed in any of the freshmen. We felt that way last year. They played. and we feel the same way this year. So pleased with what all of the young players are doing. We have a chance.
Is the new redshirt rule that's in effect this year going to alter any, changes? Like you'll be able to look at somebody and then still have an opportunity to redshirt them if you don't feel like they're totally ready?
Yeah, but how we're looking at the redshirt. First off, are you one of our best players? And do we need you early on? We feel like we need you early on to help us win games. If the answer is yes, we're going to go with it. There's a player that maybe hasn't come along as quick, we don't feel like it's ready, we'll use that then. A lot of different ways you can. Sometimes you get in a bind where at a position, you just may need a guy to play a week or so. So we're going to use it that way. And if a player hasn't played early on and it's late in the year and we want to get a look at him and we feel like we can, we're in a situation to do that, we will then. First off, though, not thinking about any of that. Let's find the best players we have, see if they're ready to go.
Well, he has a field just to have 2 recruiting classes, most of the roster that your staff.
Feels good. I mean, we know these players too, and that's the thing. Even when you first get here, when we, the first year we hadn't gone through a cycle. Now recruiting starts so much earlier, so these players. Each year we know them. Spend more time getting to know them. So that's good. So we're pumped up. Again, what's good for us as a staff too, coming together for the first time, is what we thought. In most cases, it's been the case on our evaluation at certain positions and all that.
Coach, this is the first time you really saw Rod Smith's offense with your full team this week. What has Rod brought to this offensive side of the ball, and what's Rod brought to your staff?
Well, that's easy to talk on after the day's practice, for sure. So every time I turn around, it seemed like, touchdown, which is good. As we talk about personnel groupings early on, a lot of flexibility with what we do with that. I think what we want to be too. We want to have an athletic quarterback, read option type plays, all of those. Exactly what I thought our offense would look like is what we've seen right now. Rod's a great guy. I think he, just his presence, energy, and he's got a background too. The guys really kind of buy into what this offense has done, the history behind it. We're taking steps with it.
So far with these guys in camp, are you seeing things that are different than what you've seen the past 2 seasons so far in camp at this point?
Hard, I see this gray. I can kind of remember from day to day a little bit. I just know what we have right now. Pleased with where we are. Players that we got with early on, we've seen progress from them. The improvements that our team has had to make, everything we've asked them to do, they've done. So just excited about taking the next step together. We're not the same team as we were before. Not the same team we were last year. This is a better football team. And in time, we'll be able to show that. Each week we get a little bit closer.
Coach, what does Nick Allegretti mean to your team in terms of leadership, kind of off the field next?
Well, I think, we talked about Tymir Oliver being defensive leader, defensive captain last year. Nick Allegretti, of course, is the offensive captain, leader. But I think then you have a team leader. And on our team, it's kind of established. Coaches don't name a guy. We eventually will name captains, but it's established in the program, and that's the case with Nicky. In order for you to be the captain, you need to do everything right, pretty much, and be counted upon. And I don't think you can necessarily be that team leader if you're not playing. So you need to be on the football field playing. And they're going to expect a certain type of play each snap. And then for us, as coaches, want the team to behave this way. Things come up, head coach to a player is Nicky. And that guy has to be comfortable too. Coming to me, coach, how about this? Can we do that? When you get in that role, you do listen to him. So Nick has been that way since I got here. He's exactly what you want. you know, being in that #1 position on your football team.
Lovie, do you lean more at all on some of these underclassmen, given the small number of seniors for leadership? Do you encourage them to lead in a different way than you would?
Now, when we talk about leadership, to me, you have to be self-motivated. We expect everybody to do what they're supposed to. We have rules. We expect everybody to go by that. So in a way, you're leading. We do expect our young players. You don't get a mulligan for, hey, I'm just got on campus. I'm young. I'm a freshman. No, I mean that's not how we see it. We want them to behave like they've been around for a while. We establish the rules and expect everybody to go by.
Coach Gilbert on the defensive side, you know, you gave him the title, I think, passing defense coordinator when you hired him. He seems really involved out there on the field. How much has he meant in this first week of camp?
Gilbert has a track. We all have a track record. Gil has it off the field. Talk about first, just great man. Making a statement. I make the statement. He's as good a man as I've been around. When you bring that as a teacher, he's an excellent teacher. He has credibility of being in the game for so long. He knows how to relate to players. We have been, our philosophy defensively is, you know, meshes. So a lot of trust in him. When you have young players, you need guys like that, you know, that really believe in what we're doing. He does, and everything. Again, I didn't have to wonder about him. I know exactly what to expect from him in every situation that comes up.
Coach, how have Lou Dorsey and Isaiah Gay responded to this spring?
They've responded well. You know, young people make mistakes, and you know, I'm a granddad, father. You know, young people make mistakes. There's punishment that goes along with it, but you know, it's not normally a death sentence. You know, a life sentence. Those guys took care of business, came back, wanted to come back to our football team, ready to go, and they both, you know, you've noticed Isaiah Gay has a chance. I mean, he's an excellent speed rusher, strong guy. Isaiah Gay, he came in, we recruited him, weighed 200 pounds. He's over 220, but over 20 pounds on that a year. So there's a lot of good things that those guys are doing, and again, they've learned from some of their mistakes.
Coach, any update on Kevon Myers?
I'm sorry.
Any update on Kevon?
Good question. Yes, making progress still. Not quite with us. We're hopeful to get him in soon. How's that?
In terms of progression, is this kind of where you saw your team being 7 days into camp?
Yeah. I think we're, you know, ideally as a coach, you would like to have 0 injuries 7 days into camp. The guys are picking up. You know, we have a lot of the situations in, most of the situations in. Again, I talked about how many team plays we've had. Nothing to really complain about. We just need the rest of the practices. It's a process, and thought the offense really took a step today. Defense, that's how, you know, take a hit, punch back and forth, and that's what we've had in camp, and can't wait to finish.
Coach, we've seen a lot of sophomores improve a lot off of that freshman year, but not as many as Owen Carney has. What type of impact has he brought to that defensive end, and what's his ceiling?
Owen Carney's ceiling. You can say that about all of the freshmen a little bit. Talented guys, been in the program, been good program guys, done everything we've asked them to do in the weight room. Owen Carney's case, in the classroom. Eventually, just better and better play, as much as anything. No, Owen is excited. Most of those freshmen can't really remember what happened, so now they have a better grasp of what's getting ready to happen for them, and so we need him to be a force on the outside. He, along with Bobby Roundtree, mentioned Isaiah Gay, so I feel like we'll get that. They'll have an opportunity.
Can you compare his experience versus, say, maybe Larray Oladipo, who had a red shirt, sat out? He seems to have made a lot of strides in the offseason, you know, playing as a freshman versus redshirting.
You know, I don't, you know, in the big picture, I don't know. You know, Kendrick Green, same situation. He and Larry Oladipo sit out. Both of them now are in the mix. They both have 4 years to play and help the University of Illinois win. Tough for them then. But once you get to this spot now, I don't really know. I know that we can't wait to see those two players that haven't played, but experience has to help you. That's why a guy like Isaiah Gay and all those other freshmen that played, it's not first time. They know what to expect, and that should lead to better play immediately from it.
What differences have you maybe seen in your offensive line, just given the fact that that group returns basically intact after playing a full year together?
Right now, I mean, it's early in the game still. What we've seen is them working together as a group. Coach Buck is doing a good job with them. We're adding things, daily. Beyond that, it's just, guys, you get to training camp. I mean, it's not a whole lot of that. It's just steady. You need steady play. That's what you need. Go to meetings, go to practice, live, start the routine over again. That's what they've been doing over and over. They know the drills. The coach Buck has decided to take off a period. The guys will know exactly what they need to do. So that's what we've seen from the offensive line. It's the same. The last group start. They don't take the field unless they're together. They do everything together. So right now, we just want them to continue to get that kind of bond.
Along with Calvin Avery, Burgess Brown, another guy you're kind of trying to work in playing shape. Just how do you feel like he's progressed throughout camp?
Well, I think they're making plays. They're talented players that, again, when you're a freshman, you don't really know. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. But you go to work. They're coachable, and they have Coach Clark, Coach Poe are doing a great job with them. So they're making progress. Those guys are going to play for us. It's kind of neat to see the improvements that they've made. First, by getting in stance and all that, learning how to play hard. That's kind of subjective. Everybody thinks you know how to play hard until you actually get here. But they're going through those challenges. Well, I guess we'll see y'all Kent tomorrow. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow's off.
So it's Sunday.